Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Aussie Ideas Man. I'm trying to put out two in a row now. I'm halfway through a question and answer session with Chris Anthony, and I need to put out this one about the factory tour by Tailosive. So here we go.
This vehicle is actually the first vehicle that we built, and Steve and I and a couple helpers put this vehicle together over about 3 months. But this was the launch edition vehicle. This was the first 4,000 pre-orders.
So I think he's a little bit inaccurate here already. First of all, I'd like to say that this is a factory tour, and the first thing he's being shown in the factory is a built prototype. And I don't believe the black one was the first one. I thought the white or the silvery coloured one was the first one. It was an alpha, but it wasn't the first of the three alphas that they built. Nevertheless, it's also not a launch edition. Even the first one wasn't a launch edition. The name of the launch edition is the one that all the accelerator people are thinking they're going to get. But just a few inaccuracies. We'll see how he goes. Normally, Chris is a pretty smooth snake oil salesman and doesn't make little mistakes like that.
The thing to me is that we put the solar on the vehicle. Solar on the hood and the roof look like the solar on the dash, which in this video, I bet you can't even see the solar on the dash.
That's very subtle.
It was the cretin from AOC who went and visited some months later, and on inspecting all three alphas, he discovered that there was no solar on any of them. This stuff is just little plastic squares. It doesn't generate any solar at all. When they actually made the Gamma and took it to the fully charged live show for its second reveal, they'd actually revealed it a few days earlier in their Carlsbad factory here to a few chosen people. But when they did do this, they said, this is the first one with working solar. And so now why is he still talking about putting solar on this machine? It's not solar, it's fake.
Kind of funny that we had embedded solar that worked like the very first vehicle, the very first attempt, so it didn't have any of the damping that you felt on Gamma that you drove, and the production vehicle will be even better because we'll tune the suspension and damping. Right here is the vehicle assembly line. So we'll show you a simulation.
Okay.
So the assembly line goes basically in a U or an L from where one of the alphas are back here over to that corner.
Wow.
And then as we walk in, you'll see a green line in the middle here, and the green line is where we build our batteries and our solar. So the backstory of this is this was created in association with Monroe and Associates. Every piece of machinery in here was designed out in CAD with Monroe and Associates, and they did tech.
So we can easily see here that this is a pretty empty factory floor. They've got a taped or painted line to show where all the production equipment goes, but no production equipment anywhere along the line. So what they do is go to this video of renders, and that's not a tour of the factory, that's a video of renders. That's in lieu of looking around the factory itself. Drew's not asking, where is everything? He's just sucking it up like he's supposed to do.
But it costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. We have design tools from Dassault. We have product life management tools from Innovia.
Oh, wow.
The product life management takes your design in every iteration and makes sure that everything matches. You don't forget stuff. And we have a manufacturing execution system which overlays the manufacturing environment. So the manufacturing execution system pulls from your ERP system, your NetSuite system, pulls inventory out and puts it on the floor.
Gotcha.
When you need a battery pack, which is the keystone for the Aptera, it's the heaviest part of the Aptera, that's barcoded, that came out of inventory from your ERP system and now exists in your manufacturing execution system. Now that barcode for the battery pack matches the VIN number for your vehicle.
Oh, I see.
So in 10 years, you know what battery pack went into that vehicle. And then there's traceability all the way back to the cell in that battery pack. It's a deeper level of manufacturing execution.
Is this the piece that would come from CPC?
Yeah, so CPC would ship us the body.
Okay.
We put on the rear suspension to start. We build the battery pack here. Takt time gives you about 40 vehicles per 8-hour shift.
Okay.
So why didn't he say, well, show me the battery packs being built here?
But if we can ramp this place up to 20,000 vehicles a year, then we can hopefully cookie cutter this factory into other places. 100,000 square foot building in San Francisco and Texas and Virginia and the Netherlands and Australia and Germany and other parts of the world. We think that, make this kind of the master plan and then build it elsewhere. That key.
He's all talk and no action.
Keeps deliveries close to the customer.
Right.
Keeps service parts close to the customer. They do a lot of things. You get to take advantage of local and state incentives. You're bringing jobs.
Good,
you know,
good.
That kind of stuff too.
If you're building more in Europe, would that drastically decrease the cost of like shipping the whole CPC body from Italy, or is that pretty affordable to move it over here?
You know, eventually we want to onshore the composite
Yeah,
and metal
definitely.
production here.
Uh-huh.
So we hope that there's kind of this European manufacturing center that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, hopefully maybe one facility like CPC services, you know, 5, you know, assembly facilities around
Right,
Europe.
right.
And then we have onshore production for composite and aluminum parts here that services the 4 factories we have in the U.S.
Cool, cool.
So that's the ambition, is to, you know, kind of divide and conquer, build in Italy to start,
Uh-huh.
and then bring some of that part production here, so we can build it here. This is what the solar actually looks like. It's kind of an internal look,
Oh, okay.
but this is basically
So far, he's saying what they hope to do, and this whole company is built on hope.
what it looks like. We take these kind of solar cells, IBC solar cells, we string them together in a robot down there, and then we embed them into a glass structure like this. Cool thing about these solar cells is that they're pretty flexible.
Oh, yeah, so they can.
So it's a monocrystal, but it is flexible because it's held together with this copper matrix in the back. You can break it, and it's still producing power in the back. So
really?
if you had an good
Looking at that example behind him, it is rigid and it's supposed to be put on flexible cells in the background. So why has he got a glass structure like that is holding everything rigid when the new information about their super duper 40% lighter glass is as wobbly as can be? If they stuck the cells that are flexible on that U-butte glass structure, it wouldn't be like that. It would still wobble. This piece of glass behind him is an irrelevant prop. And again, Drew isn't asking where are these being made. He could have asked what happened to the 100 a day that they were making for months at the Vista plant. Where have they stockpiled them? Have they taken them down the tip or something? And what are they doing with them? And then, how many new ones have they made since they've realised they can do a better job of making them? All of these things are unasked questions, let alone unanswered. They're even unasked.
girlfriend, took a bat to your Aptera, and she broke a couple cells, and you wouldn't have to worry about replacing the panel right away.
I see.
So this is where remember we cut off 4 solar cells, 2 from each side here. So they're actually cut off. This piece is like this, and there's a.
I've just recently discovered that no prototype, not even the Gamma, has the hatch working. So they're showing him something here that hasn't been achieved yet. They're going, look at how we can get this greater angle done, when in essence, they haven't done it.
So these are the cells. These are NMC 811 chemistry. They're 2170 in format, so they're 21 millimeters in diameter and 70 millimeters tall. This is a battery module, so you take each of these cells and you plunk them into these cell brackets.
Okay.
And then
Once again, he's looking at a half-baked little example sitting on a table, and Drew isn't asking, well, you're making these battery packs in-house here. Show me the things being made. Show me the production equipment. They're not, as far as we know, they just don't exist. They're not making the battery packs. They're not making the panels, the solar panels of any sort. They're just holding a couple of samples on tables. That's not a factory.
if you just make the jelly roll taller,
Yeah.
you get proportionally more energy density because all the active material is more.
Interesting.
You know, also cylindrical cells, you have dead space in between the cells.
Right.
You don't pack the cells too close, and then you have little gaps in the middle, little triangular gaps in the middle.
Do they become harder to cool as they get taller, or are they cool?
They do, yeah. So you have to transmit the heat all the way down, but you know the batteries are made of aluminum and copper, and it conducts heat really well. So we take all of the heat out of the bottom of the batteries. So the batteries are bonded to a base plate, and that base plate is what's cooled. That's called internal impedance. That's what makes the cell hot. The more heat that's generated, the harder time it is to get out. So that's why Tesla has the serpentines that go through.
But
their
Aptera's
cells.
pulling such little power
Yeah,
relatively.
we're pulling such little power that the internal impedance of the cell is much lower now. Cells keep getting better and better. So
Good,
the internal
good,
impedance of the
okay.
cell is low. That means that you don't create a lot of heat through taking the power out.
This is where Drew should have asked him why have two of them stopped because they overheated. If it's all unnecessary, then no matter how they were driven, whether they were driven hard or driven up hills or whatever, if they're so efficient, they should not be stopping due to overheating.
putting the power back in, and it means we don't have to take a lot of heat out. So you can get a lot from the bottom. So it's really a surface area equation.
Yeah.
The more surface area you can touch, the more heat you can get out.
And for the standard range, it'll still be these cells just with less modules?
Yeah, the standard range, this is our packs, kind of drawn out.
Oh, okay.
But the pack is made of 6 modules.
Okay.
The 45 kilowatt hour pack is our standard pack.
Yeah.
And the 23 kilowatt hour pack.
So far, he's seen prototypes, he's seen tables with little samples on, he's seen video screens. Now he's looking at a whiteboard with pieces of A4 paper stuck on.
We just take cells out of parallel groups.
Oh,
So there's
okay.
13 parallel groups.
Uh-huh.
We just take, basically half the cells out. And that gives you 23 kilowatt hour. And to go bigger, that's just a taller cell. And this is a much taller cell.
Do you call those 2190s? 21? Okay, that's the official term.
2190s.
No one's really using those yet, huh? Those are you guys the first?
There are some people that are using them in Asia, but nothing in the electric vehicle space.
Okay.
So like vape pens and some of the cordless electronics, power tools and toothbrushes and stuff. They're using the taller cells.
Interesting. I didn't know they were in use. That's awesome.
That's the hood.
That's very light.
It's glass, but it's actually, as you see, a little flexible.
You can
Yeah. You can see the. Oh yeah.
But super lightweight.
That's incredible.
We're still working on some process control stuff, and
You wouldn't think that's a giant pane of glass, if you're installing a window or something this big, would not feel that light.
the weird thing is see how flexible it is.
Yeah.
But this is
Ready to fly.
glass. You don't think of glass as being flexible, but you can
Right.
put this on the ground and stand on it, and then when you get off of it, it turns back to this kind of a hood shape.
Oh, okay. So it wants to be in this.
It was formed to
stays
that
fixed.
shape, so it wants to be in this shape, yeah. And it's super scratch resistant and lightweight, obviously.
Does this have the connectors on it, or
It does.
Yeah, you can't see them because
Yeah.
they're blacked out.
Oh, okay.
So you can kind of see a faint little mark
Yeah,
where the
just
tape
barely.
is. So we can show you in the back where the tape is.
Okay. So it's kind of.
You can film the drop test and the ball stuff.
Oh, okay. What can we drop it on?
We can drop it on a lot of stuff.
Should we try?
I don't know what.
Should we try? It could be a Cybertruck
samples
moment.
have already been tested.
We'll have a Franz moment.
We might have a front.
Oh no. Oh, right. Oh, sheesh.
It's okay.
That looked like the plate that they've got it on has a springy base. Why didn't they just put the piece that he was holding up as an example on the ground and drop the ball in the middle of it? If they'd put it on the concrete floor, I think that ball would have just smashed right through it. But this particular plate, I think, has been set up with a springy base, and it's the base. You can see the amount of bounce in it, and I think what's bouncing is what's under the plate. So I think it's a bit of another con job.
Didn't crack. It's pretty amazing.
So we can throw.
Wow.
That's impressive. How durable it is.
Yeah, all of the things have gone through that. They go through the 90-mile-an-hour hail strike test, and they go
Wow.
through the 1 meter ball drop test, and then
That's good. Yeah, this is the color I like.
I guess so you have the frame of reference for the design improvements we've made.
This is still
Smaller,
nice, though.
but it's still nice, yeah.
Yeah.
A little smaller.
No, I prefer the yoke, definitely.
Well, yeah,
This looks
He's now backing another prototype, an old Alpha. My goodness, I see 2 more behind. So maybe they've made more than 3 Alphas. I don't know. Oh no, the one on the left back there is the Gamma. So they must have brought it in from outside.
familiar.
yeah. It was hard to look at the right tiny screen, right? Because it used to be way over there. So
Oh, yeah. No, that makes sense. I like what you did with them. Love that.
But you've already seen the rendering, so this is what's in those renderings.
yeah, all this foam is like exact to rendering.
Oh, wow.
When you sit there, your H point, the way your feet feel.
Can I sit in it?
He's looking at another half-baked prototype. He's not looking at a factory. He's looking at small items sitting in an empty factory.
Yeah.
You'll be able to adjust the yoke, and then we have the ability to have on, off, left, right, up, down in an analog way.
Oh, interesting. How are you adjusting the?
So you'll be able to use your finger and shut it on, shut it off, and then change the direction of the airflow. You'll physically touch.
Oh,
these
there will be
rotary
little.
vents.
There will be little blades or
Yes.
something there.
What Jason is doing is telling him what there will be. If you take a factory tour, you're in there to see what there is, and you don't sit in a half-baked prototype and get told what there will be.
This is the upper rear view screen.
Oh, wow.
This is what's above your head right there.
I like how wide it is, and it's a separate camera from the backup.
Yes.
Correct.
That'll show up on the side
this
like
is-
it
this
does.
is-
On
So now he's looking at one example of a rearview mirror screen. Where are the 40,000 others being stored?
The rear vision is the one located at the top of the hatch, all the rear vision.
Did you experiment at all with just having one
Yes.
rear-facing camera, and it just didn't replicate that experience,
You really
right?
want, for reversing, which is not something you do very often,
Sure.
but you do it enough that you want that vision.
Yeah.
You really want a wider field, but you
That's
don't
fair.
want a wider field because that's not how our eyes are built. So when you're just looking for
Look at all those pallet racks up there that they installed, but possibly just a few empty cardboard boxes and some scrap material in them. They are empty.
Smart.
This is glass SMC.
Glass SMC.
So it's
Oh.
glass sheet molding compound.
Wow.
So the other parts are carbon fiber, but we've had this for, gosh, almost a year, testing these different wraps. So
Oh, okay.
there's other parts outside that have been testing these wraps.
Wipe it clean.
Good.
Pretty much is the best thing, the easiest stuff. You can see here also simple.
and there's not a lot of waste compared to
Good,
the standard
good.
metal. Yeah, you can
Oh,
recycle
yeah.
all that, but there's not this big trim piece.
Right,
There's
right.
He's looking at another tiny little proc. This stuff's supposed to be made in Italy.
a little bit of flashings that they set a CNC machine, it trims it, and you're done.
And what's it look like as it goes in? Is it kind of like Play-Doh?
Looks like a candy bar, yeah.
Yeah, kind of
Oh, wow.
Play-Doh-ish. Not Play-Doh, it's more like a big rectangle of
Like a epoxy putty, if you ever
Okay,
use a
yeah,
epoxy
yeah.
putty. And you can see they actually
about
put
half an inch thick.
Yeah,
Wow.
different bricks in different locations, so they're very precise. They can actually
Yeah.
They know the
exactly.
flow and where to place it, and then the press comes down, and then it goes up,
Wow.
and there's your part.
So are the big door kind of side pieces similar to this material, and then the internals are more...
Yeah, so the roll hoop, the cowl, the spider roof structure, and the tub are this carbon fiber SMC. And the exterior panels are more aesthetic. They don't carry as much load, so they're made out of this glass fiber SMC.
I love the skateboard.
Yeah, we talked about doing some
It was
special
his
edition
idea
Aptera
to do the-
skateboards for
to do
people.
the-
These are actually made out of also
nice.
fiberglass with the first prototypes vehicles that we made that you see there.
Oh, wow.
This is actually made out of fiberglass, so you can see also
Oh,
it's easy
cool.
to make a skateboard because it's fairly simple.
Yeah,
shape.
yeah.
You'd just love to see them showing their skateboards as part of a factory tour. Now look, there's a little lineup of them up the wall.
I actually use that uncut skateboard as my mold.
Oh,
So
wow.
lay it in there, and that's how I make it.
Very creative. It's probably way too early to ask, but has there been much discussion about higher voltages?
Yeah, the problem is none of the higher voltage stuff is commoditized.
They're looking at another whiteboard with a piece of paper pinned on it, it looks like. That looks like a pin. Strange, into a whiteboard.
Oh,
So the 12 volt stuff is commoditized.
Yeah.
Some 24 volt stuff in industrial equipment and trucks, but we need lightweight, so that doesn't really help us. We would love to have a team that could develop a 48 volt platform for us.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have Tesla type money.
sure. They're messing around with it. But
We have to buy what's commoditized, and what's commoditized is 12 volts still.
and what about the higher voltage for the big battery?
Oh, you mean
Like a-
800 volts versus, so.
Yeah.
So 48 volts would help us in lightening the harness. So the cool thing
Right.
about what Eric and Charlie are working on is we have this distributed I/O system. So
Okay.
these little I/O boards are what
Yeah.
controls everything around the vehicle.
Okay.
And we're able to take the wiring harness weight down by half because we use I/O boards instead of connectors and wires that go everywhere. So
Good,
most
good.
people would put the electronics on the dash and then
Yeah.
run a wire all the way to the rear. If you do
I just saw a person sitting down as if he was working. I was thinking they were showing him through the factory before any workers got there. But maybe what we're seeing is the extent of their staff now, which is almost nobody in the place. Is this during work hours?
Our solar charge controller, which we can show you, actually does up to 800 volts.
Oh,
Charges.
interesting.
We've already
Okay.
designed it in some areas. We're looking to monetize our solar to the industries, and we're talking with a bunch and have some commitment letters, and we're going to start doing some trials soon.
Oh, wow. That'd
But
be
it's-
exciting.
It's really on the basis of the solar charge controller that can be used on anything from a 48 volt battery.
There's another guy walking with his hands in his pockets. So maybe this is the full working day, full staff in present. I did forget about some woman in glasses behind a screen who was laughing profusely. So there are people there, but so few.
Yeah, so if you want to position yourself where the vehicle is, you
Now he's playing with a VR set. That's not touring a factory. That's avoiding a factory tour.
guys can see it on the screen here.
Oh, wow. Oh,
For the rear wheel.
the porthole?
Yeah, if you want, you can adjust your positioning. I can show you how to do that. you can see it better.
It's like you're replacing your tire right now. You're filling your air in the rear.
This is what I did.
Well, thanks you guys, both of you, for showing me so much around the place. It was a pleasure.
And now he's thanking them. He's been shown a factory, never asked a single question about where is this factory. Walked through an empty warehouse, saw some props on a few tables, saw a few video screens, saw a few prototypes, even a virtual reality prototype, saw hardly anybody working, and never twigged, never thought, is this for real? Is, is this ever going to produce anything? How long will it take them to get the plant ready, to get supplies in? How long will it take for them to get their act into gear? This to me just looks like the things they get done at CPC and other different stunts are only there to ask for more money. And when it comes to really spending money on getting everything ready, they're not interested. They're keeping the factory in a state where they can abandon it as quickly as possible, as cheaply as possible.
Pleasure. And looking forward to those PI bills.
Yeah.
Should be wonderful.